next, we will hear from candidates running for the role of welfare officer, and I'll hand that back over to Rachel to introduce the role.
Next, as George said, we'll be focusing on candidates running for welfare officer. RUSU's welfare officer is responsible for the development and management of welfare initiatives and projects, as well as taking the lead on welfare campaigns. The welfare officer will also liaise with the RUSU Advice Service, supporting and helping to promote their services. We have 6 candidates running for this role. Again, sorry if any mispronunciations of names, but they are Grace Lewis, Lucia Martin, Ellie Taylor, Jack Pink, Nasheen Cool, and Seth Bosom. Candidates will be spotlighted in that order, and they will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves, their manifestos, and answer the following 3 questions. How can RUSU help to tackle harassment and bullying across all areas of the student experience? What do you think is the largest welfare issue currently facing Reading students, and how do you plan to address this? How can RUSU build upon its current welfare initiatives to help students look after their mental health? Grace, you'll be first. Grace, your time will start once you unmute your microphone and begin talking. I'll hold up this sign to say 30 seconds is left when you have 30 seconds remaining. We will unfortunately have to cut you off at 2 minutes. Whenever you're ready.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Hi, my name's Grace and I'm a 4th year economics student. My 3 main manifesto points are Talk It Out, which is a text helpline available for all students, no matter how big or small they think their problems are, and it would provide support and advice based on those problems. Secondly, I'd like to implement Wellbeing Wednesdays, a weekly recommendation based on the feedback from students from welfare reps in sports and societies, as well as the wellbeing champions, and this would range anything from workshops to mindfulness sessions and also more fun activities as well. And finally, Buddy Up, which would be a scheme where students can match with other students in their same year group, but separate to their course and accommodation to improve the friendship prospects across campus. I think the best way to tackle bullying is to primarily increase the awareness of what bullying actually constitutes of. So whether that be through workshops, which I can use with my Wellbeing Wednesday sessions, and then also make the process simpler for students so that they can report bullying acts through my text service, which I think would be a lot easier, as often texting somebody initially is a lot simpler and less stressful than making a phone call. I do believe the biggest issue currently facing students this year is actually loneliness. Being, away from campus, like I am myself, is quite a lonely experience, and I think the best way to implement and improve this issue is to increase the friendliness on campus, and also through the sort of Buddy Up scheme, which I'd like to implement. Finally, I believe the current welfare initiatives on campus, like the activities available for students, is really great. However, I believe the best way to improve the current initiatives is to make more of a campaign, such as my Wellbeing Wednesdays Act, where students are able to understand and receive emails about what's available to improve their mental health and well-being. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Lucia. Once you've been spotlighted, we'll start the timer and you'll begin talking. So whenever you're ready. Don't think Lucia's on the call. I think we should move on to the next candidate then, which is Ellie. Ellie, once you've been spotlighted, the timer will start once you begin talking. So whenever you're ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, you've been spotlighted.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, so hi, I'm Ellie. I'm a 4th year student and I study German and Italian. My first manifesto point, which I think links really well to what I think the biggest welfare issue is for students at the minute, is the reintegration of students back into the university lifestyle after the last year of such a socially isolated year. So I want to propose more informal departmental meetings where students can meet with their classmates and their lecturers in an informal setting to get to know people, which is really difficult to do through a screen online. My second manifesto point, which I think is a way that RUSU can tackle bullying and harassment throughout the university, is to collaborate with the welfare officers from societies and sports clubs to provide more support for their members. So to give training and regular meetings with these welfare officers so that I can work alongside them to help support their members and the students. My final manifesto point revolves around Erasmus and international students. So I did a year abroad last year, so I know it's really difficult to feel at home in university. So I want to create a set of resources to share with these Erasmus and international students to make them feel like they're part of our community. To answer the final question, what current welfare policies from RUSU we can build on to help the students, is to develop the welfare hotline, which has been promoted last year, which I think is a really, really crucial service that will be really helpful to all students. So I want to continue developing and promoting that, and also to promote the life tools workshops that the university run at the minute. So there's lots of different webinars and workshops that students can take part in to help their well-being, but I don't think they're well known enough. So I want to help promote that too. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up we have Jack. Jack, once you've been spotlighted, we'll start the timer once you begin talking, whenever you're ready.
Hey everyone, I'm Jack. I'm going for welfare. I've done loads of mental health volunteering since first year. It's what inspired loads of my manifesto, and I think it's the best way to sort of get stuck in and make real results. So my first manifesto point is the Get Back on Track safety scheme. This is a sort of big program all about consent, like realistic consent, realistic situations, overall safety, but also fun, teaching students how to still have fun, because that's what uni is about. My second point is active well-being. This is basically building healthy routines, letting people not get stuck in ruts, whether that's reaching out with friends, doing self-care, doing physical activity. My final manifesto point is community, mental health and voice. I think students need to be respected by the uni. That's a two-way relationship. It's so important. Also, mental health should be much more accessible, because not everyone goes to a GP or does some clinical intervention. It's just not realistic. And also, students should have loads of events on at campus, whether it's virtual or in person, to feel connected. In terms of tackling harassment, well, part of my manifesto is the Get Back on Track safety scheme. Within that, welfare training, I want to do much more with that. I want to make sure welfare reps actually attend it, because that really annoyed me when I went. Also, uni culture overall, I think you should teach students what to look out for and make them stop bad things from happening. Be preventative as well as having policies in place. Teach students what's acceptable or not. The largest welfare issue, COVID, for example, courses, people's grades suffering. I mean, I think you should have people that represent students first and that will fight for students. Also, many mental health things have been hidden by COVID and people sort of suffer in silence. So highlighting all of that. And then building current initiatives. Bandy this year, for example, has been working with My Way, which is a Get Home Safe app. That should be ready by September.
I'm really sorry, Jack, I'm going to have to cut you off. Thank you. Just to check, Lucia, are you on the call now? I can see you. So I'm gonna let you, because obviously we had to go past you because of internet problems, but I'll let you speak now. Once you have been spotlighted and can unmute yourself, we'll begin the timer.
Yeah, sorry about all the technical difficulties, but thank you, Rachel.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Go.
So hi everyone, I'm Lucia. I'm in third year studying psychology, and my first manifesto point is I would like to work on the academic-tutor relationship. I'd like to make this proactive rather than reactive, and I'd like to teach them on signposting so we can be moved on to the correct services when we are suffering. I'd also like to work within sexual assault policies, making harsher punishments for perpetrators and more leniency for victims, such as the reduced need for ECF form evidence. And I'd also like to host focused consent workshops within different communities, such as the LGBT community and the mature student community, etc. I would also like to work within online welfare training, especially including accessibility issues within international students, disabled students and carer communities. I'd like to lobby for the removal of breakout rooms, and I'd also like to help aid the transition back into in-person learning. I plan to tackle harassment and bullying in all areas of RUSU by stamping out ignorance and stopping exclusivity within societies, halls and between course mates, because I feel this is where most of this occurs. I'd like to improve the communication channels if this bullying occurs by using academic tutors and further signposting services within RUSU. I think the largest welfare issue presented to students is loneliness and isolation, and especially the fact everyone's alone at the moment, away from their friends. You feel like you're the only one going through the problems that you suffer with. I'd love to address this again by improving communication channels and integrating students further. I believe RUSU can already work upon strong welfare initiatives that already exist while working alongside the #NeverOK campaign, as many students struggle, but we lack the ability to proactively ask for help. So through signposting and the wellbeing champions, we can get there.
Thank you. So we will return to our kind of where we were in the order. So up next is Nashim, is that right? You will have 2 minutes, and once you're spotlighted, you can unmute yourself and begin talking. I'll start the timer. So whenever you're ready.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hi everyone, my name is Nafshin Kaul. I am running for Welfare Officer for RUSU. I am a master's student at Henley, a student ambassador, and NUS National Conference delegate, and I've completed my Red Award. My manifesto includes self-defense workshops, monthly mental health routine activities, and improved accommodations experience. Addressing the first question, how to tackle harassment and bullying. It's important to educate students to speak up for themselves or others. If the cases of harassment or bullying complaints increase, a team should be hired which will conduct workshops to become resilient to bullying. It's important to ask students to save emergency contacts in their phones and to speak about bullying in the initial stages with their friends. RUSU can also run group campaigns on awareness around the campus. Second question, a study shows by The Economist that mental health of young people in Britain has reduced drastically during this present lockdown. They've stopped talking to friends and families in this present lockdown. So we need to show them love and affirmations for real. So this might sound cliche, but accommodation sent us a Skittles pack the other day out of nowhere. And that just like triggered my dopamine like anything. So like sending self-care packs for starters would be great. Third question, how to build upon the current welfare initiatives. I think one practical solution I feel is we need to include calendar invites of the programs that RUSU runs that take place like quite consistently, because students on Instagram, they watch these posts and everything. They want to attend those, but they won't go offline and click and set a reminder or anything. So we need to become more approachable and publicize RUSU events that way. So the initiatives are splendid, but the engagement is what needs more work on. So sending emails with calendar invites, because everybody is really vulnerable right now, and this is the least we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, we have Seth. Seth, once you've been spotlighted, we'll start the timer once you begin talking, whenever you're ready.
I think we might be down as Seth.
I think we might be. I'm not sure what protocol is in this spot, but I assume we'll move on.
We'll have to move on. Democracy waits for no one, I'm sure. So, hold on, sorry, let me just find where we were. All right, so it's the same format as the last section. I'm going to now read you 3 questions that have been pre-submitted by students. You'll have 1 minute to answer all 3 questions, and we'll go through candidates in reverse order. I'll read the questions through twice to give you the chance to make a note of them. The questions are as follows. How will you help RUSU in addressing student housing concerns? What plans do you have to promote drug and alcohol safety, both on and off campus? I'm reading the wrong questions. No, wait, no, I'm not, sorry. What plans do you have to promote drug and alcohol safety, both on and off campus? How will you help to prevent loneliness within different student groups? So I'll repeat those for my mistake, apologies. How will you help RUSU in addressing student housing concerns? What plans do you have to promote drug and alcohol safety both on and off campus? How will you help to prevent loneliness within different student groups? I'll just do those one more time as well, just to be absolutely crystal clear we've got the right questions. How will you help RUSU in addressing student housing concerns? What plans do you have to promote drug and alcohol safety both on and off campus? How will you help to prevent loneliness within different student groups? Okay, first up, we have Seth, who's not here, so it's not be Seth. Sorry, we'll start with Navsheen. Once you've been spotlighted, we'll start the timer once you begin talking.
Yeah, so the first question about housing, what we can do is, I'm sure it's already in action, but like monthly feedbacks, which I was talking about in my manifesto as well. So we could gather monthly feedbacks, make them really consistent about coming from students. That could be what could be done about the housing concern. The second one being drug and alcohol safety, something that sends an alert to the RUSU community or somebody responsible, like phone, something like maybe an app or something, which I think we already have. So that could be helpful, but then like promoting that would be important at this stage. The third question about loneliness. So in different groups, so we could have like group heads for particular groups, which would, work on, work on getting feedback about the groups that they're responsible for, the students they're responsible for.
I'm gonna have to cut you off there. Thank you for your answer, Navsheen. Right, next up, we have Jack. Once you've been spotlighted, Jack, we'll start the timer once you begin talking.
Okay, thanks. So with help with housing, I think you should teach people realistic stuff about paying bills and money management, paying rent. Tell them what they should look for in a house, like location, price. Also, make sure they're happy in a house. Talk about housemates. Sometimes you want friends, sometimes you might not want your closest friends. So guidance on that. Drug and alcohol safety. I don't think you're ever going to stop people from necessarily exploiting those. So, I have a safety scheme where I'd talk about that, have fun, but be sensible. But also, I think you need to signpost, if you're running into problems, you should be able to approach RUSU, you should be able to get help. But also, you can't completely stomp it out. So you need to remind people to be sensible and put stuff in place to help them with that. And then preventing loneliness, I think you should be really hands-on with societies, but also reach out to courses, reach out to all students, make sure there's plenty of events going on. Try to not let people get hidden or forgotten about.
I'm going to have to cut you off right there. Thank you for your answer, Jack. We will now have to move on to the next candidate, which is Ellie. Ellie, once you've been spotlighted, we'll start the timer once you begin talking.
Okay, so to address the concerns about housing, I think it's important to ask the students what they need. So ask for feedback from finalists or people that have lived in houses in the last years to find out what sort of things they would want to know, and then implement workshops or talks to tell first year students who are looking for a house the sort of concerns that previous students had and how these could be addressed. With drug and alcohol safety, I think, again, it's just about raising awareness, giving people the resources they need to make the right decisions, to not be pressured into doing certain things that they might not feel comfortable with. So it's just all about signposting people to the right places to go to get help. And to prevent loneliness, I think, as I mentioned in my manifesto, having informal departmental meetings will help students get to know their lecturers and classmates, but also promoting the STAR mentor scheme where students can be paired with other students is a really great way to encourage people to get to know others and not be so alone. Thanks.
All right, perfect timing. Thanks, Ellie. We'll now move on to the next candidate, who is Lucia. Once you've been spotlighted, Lucia, we'll start the time once you begin talking, and you've already been spotlighted. So when you're ready.
Thanks, George. So I would like to address housing concerns by continuing to lobby for reduced rent, which is the work you guys have been doing, and I'd love to carry that on because it would be really important moving into the summer months of the term. I'd like to stamp out unacceptable standards of living in damp and wet housing, and also how to communicate with landlord, which is quite a scary thing that none of us have been able to do before. Also, with drug safety, both on and off campus, it will never be stamped out. So I believe that education is the most important thing, which drugs are not the best to be mixed and which drugs like you should avoid, things like that. And also loneliness within student groups. I would really like to integrate everyone back onto campus as smoothly as we can and spread awareness about how to sign up to societies and reintegrate freshers for everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, Lucia. Next on, last but certainly not least, we have Grace. And Grace, once you've been spotlighted, we'll start the timer once you've been talking. You've already been spotlighted, so when you're ready.
Hi, yeah, so in regards to the housing issue, I think personally I've had dreadful experiences with housing, and I think the best way to firstly tackle this is to talk to students who have lived in housing previously and create surveys and feedback forms to then go ahead and certify landlords with the uni approval. So in that case, it's a lot easier for students to see which landlords to agree with and to sort of avoid. In regards to drug and alcohol awareness, I think the key thing is really workshops. So this can be implemented through My Wellbeing Wednesdays, where we can have workshops on how to focus on which drugs are sort of definitely avoidable, and also again with dependence, if people feel like alcohol or drugs wise they are getting too dependent, they can reach out through the text out service. Finally, loneliness. As previously mentioned, I think loneliness is particularly the worst issue at the moment that students face. And I think my Buddy Up scheme would really benefit from allowing students to meet together and sort of create further friendships in ways that they might not be able to at the moment.
Perfect timing. That's warming it up. Thank you, Grace, for your answer. So that concludes the welfare officer candidates. Remember, you can check out more about the candidates by heading to our website, and remember to vote for your favorites from tomorrow.